Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today's upload, we are going to check out some subscriber experiences that were emailed to me. Also, a government/media cover-up of an attack. Before we get into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share this video. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? All right, guys. So, first order of business. Subscriber submitted experiences. We're going to touch base on them. I've got some brand new information on the attack that I talked about 2 weeks ago, animal attack and death. Really quick, got in touch with Brad, talked to him last week. He shared an experience that didn't happen to him, but one he heard. And after he let me go, I had my phone like this. Mind-blowing experience. Cannot wait till he comes on a little later in the week to share it. And I know you guys are just going to be like, holy cow, it's going to upset some and it's going to make people, it's going to make a few happy. Bottom line. I'm going to where Tom Messick disappeared today again. It's nothing new. I love going there. I'm probably always going to go there until I get some sort of something. I talked to a state trooper yesterday, and I have a map, a small little map of the search area, the grid area. I now have a clue of who created that map, who made it. I'm going to try to get a bigger copy of that, a full-size copy, with an index, because I want to know what each of those grids meant, what was done, yada, yada. I asked him, I said, do I need to submit a FOIA request? He's like, no, here, talk to this guy. Thank you. So to that really awesome state trooper, thank you, brother. Subscribe to the channel too. It was really cool. Ironically enough, he wrote a school paper about a video I had done, not about my video, but about a missing 411 that occurred in the Adirondacks probably 60, 70 years ago. A little boy in the town of Newcomb. And really, really cool guy. So, also, this is the second time I've had to record this because I dropped a few F-bombs, but I'm not going to this time. There's a channel out there right now, and they made a video about the Tom Messick case. And apparently, there's a claim that the reason why the FBI was there was because a prisoner had escaped. Well, one, regardless of you having millions of subscribers or 10 subscribers, just because you have a bunch doesn't mean you are an expert. It means you're entertaining. But people will believe that person because they have 500, 600,000 subs. It's just how human nature is, you know? So by spreading disinformation, they can spread disinformation and people will take it at face value, Why? Because, well, he's got this amount of subscribers. He must be telling the truth. No. There's no prison in that vicinity. The nearest prison is an hour and a half north. They use prison guards. They truck them down to help with the search and rescue. But there was no prisoner escape. Disinformation muddies the water, and it's BS. It's not cool. This case means a lot to me, to my backyard, local man, family, just wants closure. I pray someday they can find the body. Some sort of belongings of Tom. But no prisoner escaped during that time. The FBI interviewed the family and then gone. No one knows why. No one. And even the undersheriff of Warren County, I interviewed him. I point blank asked him. He had no idea why. I've interviewed the Horicon Brant Lake chief of the fire department up there. That's where the fire department was the head of operations. I interviewed his wife. No one knew. They talked to the family and were gone. There was no prisoner. Don't muddy the water. There's enough crazy stuff going on in this crazy world that you don't have to fabricate something for a bunch of views. You get enough views anyway. Don't lie. It's not cool. It's not cool. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because it just bothered me, you know. Other than that, I don't even know the channel, but I guess they're pretty good. But don't lie. Lying's not cool. You know, like I said, there's enough crazy stuff going on out there. Disinformation muddies the water, and people that are really serious about researching, people that actually put their feet on that ground or any place instead of sitting in a chair talking, well, they're ding-dongs or ho-hos. It ruins it for them. Because when they find something or they share something, people are going to be like, well, that's not what I heard. This guy's got 600,000 subs. Human nature. More people. He's entertaining. That's it. He's not an expert. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, roughly a little more than 2 weeks ago, I shared an experience or an attack, and I shared some information that wasn't in the few news articles. That it was kind of crazy because all the news articles were just repeat of the Kentucky State Police's Facebook post and statement that was made. That's it. They just copied. But that's what media does, you know. Kentucky State Police. Woman found dead with apparent animal attack injuries in Letcher County. June 10th, 2024. Updated June 11th, 2024. Letcher County. A woman was found dead in Letcher County with injuries that appear to be consistent with an animal attack, Kentucky State Police announced Monday. According to a news release from Kentucky State Police, troopers responded to Doty Creek in Jeremiah area of Letcher County shortly before 1 a.m. on a Sunday. State Police had received a 911 call saying a woman had been found dead in the area. When troopers arrived, they found a deceased woman who had been identified as Trina Sandlin, 57, of Jeremiah. Kentucky State Police reported on Monday that primary investigation found Sandlin had left her home earlier in the evening to go to a neighbor's house. She never returned. The release states family members found her near the home in an embankment and suffered injuries consistent with an animal attack. The coroner's office pronounced Sandlin dead at the scene. Body was sent for autopsy. And then another exact same article, different news agency. And this one was a little more information, but not a lot. And this is what pushed me to start looking into it, honestly, and where it occurred. And when I made that video, I commented on that. So hang on. Letcher County woman's death being investigated by Kentucky State Police, Hazard, Kentucky. Kentucky State Police at Hazard Post continued their search or investigation into weekend death of Letcher County woman, apparently at the hand of animals. According to Kentucky State Police, on Sunday, June 9th, shortly before 1 in the morning, dispatchers received a 911 call regarding the body of a woman found dead on Doty Creek in Jeremiah community of Letcher County. Troopers, along with detectives, responded to the scene. The woman was identified as Trina Sandlin, 57, of Jeremiah. The preliminary investigation indicated that she had left her home earlier in the evening to go to a neighbor's residence, but never returned. Family members told the Kentucky State Police they discovered Sandlin near her home over an embankment and had suffered injuries consistent with an animal attack. Well, the state police has not said what kind of animal was responsible. Letcher County Coroner Perry Fowler told Lexington Herald Leader that Sandlin was attacked by canines, but could not say if it was dogs or coyote. She was pronounced dead on the scene by Letcher County Coroner's Office, and her body had been taken to the State Medical Examiner's Office in Frankfort for autopsy. Kentucky State Police has not yet released the findings of the autopsy. Sandlin's death remains under investigation by the State Police Detective Brandon Thomas. So, after sharing that, I immediately talked about Corey Godsey. Corey Godsey was a young boy, tragically found dead up a cliffside. I think it was like 1,000 feet, pretty close to 1,000 feet, maybe a little more, and suffered horrendous wounds. Taken to Frankfurt. Well, turns out that from where he was attacked is like 23 miles from where this woman was found. And I stated that in the video a couple weeks ago. I also talked about how I had a gentleman who went to school with Corey's mom on the show. He talked about Department of Homeland Security being in Knott County, Kentucky. And that, there was just a lot of talk about actual Dogman in that area. It has been for a very long time. This is a very wooded area, very remote area. And interestingly enough, I did a little bit of investigation this weekend and came up with a couple of different news articles, but also with a subscriber who lives in the area, had talked to a few people and shared some pretty crazy stuff with me. So let's get into this right now. Officials believe woman was killed during a dog attack. Doty Creek woman is dead following what is believed to be a dog attack, the second such attack on the same property in 2 months. In the previous attack, which took place in April, a toddler was severely injured, but no charges or lawsuit was ever filed. Law enforcement and animal control officials said the boy was taken to the University of Kentucky Medical Center with severe injuries to his arm, officials familiar with the incident said. The latest attack occurred on Saturday on the same property, about 1.7 miles from Kentucky 7, Jeremiah. According to the accounts from Kentucky State Police and Letcher County Coroner, Trina Elizabeth Sandlin, 57, left her rental home near the head of Doty Creek before dark and started down a path to get paint for her house from her landlord, Carlos R. Bentley. She apparently never arrived. Kentucky State Police received a 911 call at around 12:58 a.m. Sunday, June 9th, reporting Sandlin had been found dead. Troopers and detectives responded to the scene. Preliminary investigation indicated her companion and Bentley located her over an embankment near her home. She had suffered injuries consistent with an animal attack. Sandlin was pronounced dead at the scene by Letcher County Coroner Perry Fowler, and her body was taken to the state medical examiner in Frankfort for an autopsy. Fowler said the medical examiner and others he consulted agreed the attack was caused by canine, but the nature of the wounds suggested they were likely made by dog, not coyote. Sandlin had multiple injuries, including multiple defensive wounds. Letcher County dog warden and deputy with Letcher County Sheriff's Office went to the property after learning of the attack in April from a third party and were told that someone had killed the dogs after the boy was bitten. Sheriff Mickey Steins said he advised the family to see the county attorney, but they never went. Steins and other county officials said they were under the impression the dogs were dead until Saturday night's death. Fowler said the only dog at the scene when he was there was not aggressive, but there were 4 larger dogs nearby at another house. Reported dog attacks are not common in the area, but they do occur. Earlier this month, Jenkins resident complained to the city council about a pack of domestic dogs roaming downtown and behaving aggressively toward residents. Those dogs apparently belonged to a resident, but were allowed to roam free. 4 years ago, 13-year-old Corey Godzi was killed by dogs, wild dogs, near his home in Amelina in Knott County. In that case, the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources assisted with the investigation and set up cameras in the area. Animal control workers set up live traps to capture the dog. A comparison of DNA found on the animals body confirmed that the 3 dogs captured were responsible for the attack and killing of Godzi. Fowler said they retained the woman's clothing for DNA and will turn them over to the state police. The responsibility for testing will be theirs. The incident remains under investigation by Detective Brandon Thomas. Now, this is crazy because this one piece of article, like I just shared with you about the Godzi case, but on Sandlin's most recent Facebook page, she mentions friends living just miles away in Red Fox. One day before her death, she posted a something toned pit bull photo with the words R.I.P. Achilles Lee McIntosh. Its meaning is unknown. After the death of Corey Godzi was discovered in a wooded area 1,500 feet up a hillside in Knott County, it took police 6 months to determine his cause of death. Inevitably, this gave rise to different paranormal theories that continued years after his death. So, they know that these deaths are not caused by these dogs that they're claiming. The dogs that were talked about that bit a little boy in his arm were euthanized. I did call the animal control and they had been euthanized. They were shot by their owner, and which would be Carlos Bentley, the landlord who found Trina. Also, the 6-month Corey Godzi thing. Ironically enough, there was no answers, and what they had to do was they had to feed the public something. How are you going to get DNA from random wild dogs, which we don't have wild dogs in America. Wild dogs is a species of dog native to Africa. We have feral dog. We don't have wild dog. And people argue with it, but I mean, Google is not a hard thing to use. But you can't get DNA, because if it was those same wild dogs that attacked Corey God'T, how the hell did they drag him up 1,500-foot cliff? How'd they get the DNA? You're telling me 6 months later they still had his DNA in their mouth? Come on now. The public will buy anything. Just like the reason why the public gets fed disinformation all the time by the media and the government, like with the Amber Miller, Tony Aaron's case. Let's turn these people into bad people. They have drug addictions. Amber Miller was a bad mom. This, and that. So that way, Joe and Betty sitting at their dinner table or kitchen table in the morning, drinking their coffee, listening to the news, reading the paper, whatever. Who cares? They were drug addicts. She was a bad mom. She probably deserved to die. He was a drug addict, Tony Aaron's. Yet, they don't talk about the prints that were found near Tony Aaron's body, except once, that were as big as a freaking salad plate. These cases, this is going to continue to happen until the public wakes up. Until the public uses the brain that God gave us to realize, hey, this is disinformation. It's right in front of you. It's in black and white. Even on the computer, it's in black and white. It's tragic. It's tragic. And it's disgusting that the media, it's always going to happen, because the media is essentially, the Associated Press is paid for and controlled by the government, by Big Pharma, by the military-industrial complex. That's why we were warned. That's why Eisenhower warned us. Beware. Beware of the military-industrial complex. So let's get into some encounters. What you are seeing right now, quickly before we get into the encounters, is the map of Letcher County. Right above Letcher is Knott County, Kentucky, where Corey God'T was attacked. The blue dot is where roughly Trina Sandlin was attacked. The red dot is roughly where Corey God'T was attacked. You can see it's not a very long distance away, 20 miles. 20 miles through woods and creek. It's not an issue for these creatures to travel through this area. I almost forgot to share this. The subscriber that is from Letcher County, not Jeremiah, but Letcher County, he had heard from a friend of his dad's so his friend's dad had shared this experience with the kids when he was a kid, that there was some good old boys back in the day, back in the 60s, that were fishing in Doty Creek. And there's a train track that goes kind of like right through the creek. And they had been fishing there all day. There's some water on one side, a little pond kind of, and then the creek. And it was probably dusk. So right when it's starting to get a little dark, and they hear kind of this scuffling noise. They look down the tracks one way, they don't see anything, and they look down the tracks the other way. And what they see is 3 large quadruped dogs. But they were not dogs. They looked very similar to German Shepherds, but they were dark gray and black. And as the guys are standing there, now, when I say good old boys, I really mean like these guys probably made moonshine. They slept with a 12 gauge under, their bed. This was the 60s. So, times were tough back in the day, and especially in that area. So they hunted for their food. They fished for their food and such. They saw these things. One of the guys had a pistol with him. I don't know the caliber. And he took a shot at it thinking that these are just dogs. Let's scare them, So he took a shot at them. And as he did, he was aiming for them. I guess he had hit one. And it made this like yelp, but growled even louder and stood up on its hind legs. And both of them, the ones that were behind him, the other 2, stood up as well and proceeded to charge at these guys. They ended up having to jump into the pond area, which is just not a pond. It's like a cesspool of grossness. They were fishing in the creek, and swam to, the opposite side of land. They were lucky that these things didn't jump in after them. They got to the other side. They started looking around, and they saw the Dogman kind of jumped across the creek area a little ways and went towards this certain woods that they knew about. Well, a couple days later, after talking to a few of their family members and such, they end up going to that set of woods. And at night, there was like 4 or 5 of them. They'd piled in a truck, and, they had flashlights and such. They didn't have spotlights. They had flashlights. It's, the 60s. Times are tough back then. They didn't have money, so they couldn't gear up. They geared up with what they had. And they pulled into this cemetery called Back in Claudil Cemetery. And as they pull in, they see eye shine all along the woods. And when I say woods, like, it is still a wooded area. 50, 70 years ago, it would be 70 years ago now, almost. This was just dense woods. Now it's still pretty dense, but so they see the eye shine and they start shooting. Shotgun. Boom, boom, boom. Well, what's that do when, you've got a bunch of good old boys down there shooting? It brought law enforcement. And apparently the police officer that, came up knew these guys. And I guess he, what the hell are you guys doing? And they said they explained what happened to the 2. And, he thought they were drunk, that they were drinking their moonshine or whiskey or whatever they were drinking. And, he's like, get home, knock your shit off, get out of here. And as he's saying that, he looks and he sees the eye shine too. And the guys are like, we told you, look at, they're right there. And I guess 2 or 3 come running out of the woods and they just start, unloading on them. He pulls his service revolver out and starts shooting. And they all get in their vehicles and take off, because by the time they're done unloading, these things are almost on top of them. and they never went back. They never went back. Apparently, people don't go to that cemetery at night by, knowledge of, if you do, things may get a little rough for you there, and not by people. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I wish that it was more of a first-hand account, from the dad there, but he had heard it from his friend's dad when they were younger, because apparently they were going to go into the cemetery with their bicycles and stuff, and the dad always said, don't go there, don't go there. And they as kids, they thought it was just, parents, saying, hey, don't go there. There's, bad things, you know how parents, you don't want to go to the waterfall there because there's, something that'll get you. But I don't know. I thought that was pretty neat, but it goes to show, like, these things are everywhere. And we don't know what they are. We don't. The only thing we can remember, you always have to remember this, is people can make a theoretical video about what these things are. But until we have one on a slab, then we have a definite, but we don't. And that is what makes cryptozoology so interesting, because we can theorize about it right now until. I don't know if it's ever going to come to fruition that we have one on the table. The government obviously does, but will the civilians? I don't know. But I don't think in my life we will ever have a definite answer as to what these creatures are. Generations upon generations upon generations. Just like Danny Van Drimeny wrote in Them and Us, since time immemorial, our ancestors have been fighting creatures that we are dealing with now. They were dealing with them hundreds of years ago in different countries. Today's first subscriber submitted experience. I want to try to come to you from a Christian perspective, and to remember my first visitation was when I was only 6, so that the shadow people part comes from my mom back then, not trying to argue with you, just asking you to hear me out as a fellow person who has had visits, although I don't know your experience. According to the Bible, ghosts and shadow people are demons. I believe aliens are also, after hearing visitation from a friend and seeing a couple of interviews who escaped capture by them once, grabbed simply by saying, "Let go of me and leave me in the name of the mighty Jesus." They then were let go and left. If you don't hate me by the end of this, I will share with you my 2 Dogman encounters. Now, the first part is both my own memory of a dark spirit and what my mom said about it. This is August of '83. I had just turned 6. In July, my sister was 4, my brother 2. On August 14th, we moved into a new home. My mom told me after I grew up that normally she cleansed the house to make sure we had no unwanted visitors, not from this world, but was too tired after moving and forgot to. The next night, August 15th, we were all exhausted and quickly fell asleep. My sister and I shared a bedroom. We were both startled awake, not sure if we felt a presence or heard something or what. Next to the bed, we saw something dark, a shadow figure. It then jumped off the floor and hovered over our bed. My mom then woke up about this time. She looked in our room and said, "Oh no, I don't think so." She came into our room, pointed a finger at it, and said, "In Jesus' name, leave." This thing then had a panicked look on its face and left. It was a creepy-looking humanoid shadow figure. with creepy eyes and long, skinny fingers. I don't remember legs or feet. Not sure how many nights went by, but no more than 2 weeks. I have no idea what time it was. I know it was after 10 because everyone, including my parents, were asleep, and they went to bed at 10 back then. I guess I need to describe my room. Okay, so our bed was a queen bed, and it was sideways against the wall. My sister laid against the wall, and I was the closest to the window, which was about 7 feet. The window faced the backyard and was 8 feet off the ground. In the backyard, about 12 feet from the house, was a blackberry bush. It was thick as well. I was awakened by tapping sound on my window. My silly sister woke up, looked out the window, and rolled over, thinking her big sister and me would protect her from the thing standing outside. Sure, people don't believe my 4-year-old sister would feel like that, but that's what she told me about 8 years ago. And no, she's not willing to speak any more about it. I laid back down and would not take my eyes off the creature, thinking if I did, it would get us. It had to be 8.5 feet tall. Its head was at the middle of the window, and bottom of it was 8 feet off the ground. It had a medium-length snout, long sharp teeth. It was drooling and growling. It was still tapping at the window for a few moments. It had red eyes, and its hands were raccoon-like. It had tall pointed ears with tufts of fur on top. The weird thing is, I don't remember it leaving, so I'm not sure, but I guess I must have fallen asleep. The next morning, my sister and I told our parents about this, so my dad looked outside, and since it was summer and the hose was against the wall, the ground was slightly wet from using the sprinkler, and this thing had left footprints. However, my parents still don't believe we saw what we described. I had forgotten way over the years until I had a second encounter, and my late husband told me about his encounter. But to this day, as soon as it gets dark, I can't be near the windows, even still. You can ask me about my late husband's experience and my second encounter if you're interested. I have since remarried. My current boyfriend doesn't believe in anything like this exists, so he gives me a difficult time about it, but I still have nightmares. So yeah, I do want to hear her other experiences. I emailed her saying, hey, I do want to hear your other experiences. Don't understand why you'd say I would hate you because you have a different theory than I do and other people. Like, that's what's great about cryptozoology. And I've always said that. Like, actually, I'm a firm believer because my friend Kirk Stokes quit even being involved in cryptozoology and talking about it because he was pushed out of the field because people didn't agree with his theories. So I don't know why someone would say that. I've never ever said, the biblical, actually I talk a lot about it, that they may be demons. They may be dimensional. Who knows? Hell may be another dimension. We don't know, But yeah, I do want to hear the other ones. So today's final subscriber submitted experience. Jeff, I'd like to take a moment to thank you for your hard work and dedication you have and continue to give to the research community and your channel. Thank you for supporting people and giving them a non-biased platform to share their encounters and experiences. I found your channel 3 years ago while recovering from ankle surgery. I admire everyone who has been brave enough to come forward and share their experiences. I have spent my childhood up until my young adulthood being bullied and tormented for being Native. Out of the 100 students in our class, only 3 of us were Native American. When my encounter happened, I was so scared of the abuse I would have to endure if I came forward. I felt crazy enough and spent many days wondering if I had finally lost it. Jeff, I sent you Google Map shots of the location and drew a route I had taken. I sometimes have trouble explaining things clearly. In the photo of my last childhood home, it's hard to see, but there was a 10-foot tall chain link fence that separated our backyard from the parking lot. Late spring of 1986, I was 15 years old. I was excited to get my first job outside of babysitting. I started working as a paperboy for the Portland Press-Herald, Maine Sunday Telegram. The paper route took me over a large area of Lincoln. The courier dropped off my root stack at the corner of Morgan Street and Main Street at around 3 in the morning. Through summer, I didn't have any creepy crawly feelings. I would even stop at the Metawannacook Lake, aka Lincoln Beach, and go for a swim when I was done with my job. I would swim from the main beach to the end of my street. My street, Lakeview Street, was tarred right to the water's edge. I always got out at Mr. Heath's lawn. I had no worries at that point. I started to change after school started. That started changing after school started. We normally started back at August 24th, give and take a few days. This felt like it was slowly creeping in. I started feeling watched, if I remember correctly. It was worse at Clay's funeral home and a small walk space that connected Mr. Clay's home down around Wilson Street. The trees were more dense and very dark between the homes. I would cut through the Bardeen side yard and hit the lower end of Lakeview. Around Mr. Heath's home, I would hear rustling noises and low growl. I kept trying to convince myself that Mr. Heath got a new puppy or it was the coyotes. The sounds I heard wasn't every Sunday. Some new customers didn't leave payment on Sunday, no problem. I did Friday after school collections, knowing most people got paid on Friday. Now in October, it was getting dark early. I was out collecting payment. I was at a customer's home. He hadn't paid in 6 weeks. I gave him the paperwork stating if payment isn't paid in full, by next Friday his paper subscription would be terminated and the company would be seeking payment by lawful means. His home is located in the intersection of Main and School Street. I walked from the back side of the house to the main sidewalk. I was heading home. I heard movement from the house adjacent to Mr. No Pay. It was scratching like nails being dragged down a tree. I snapped around and saw a huge, dark fur wolf-looking animal. Its eye shine looked golden amber. I'm 5'4". This majestic animal on all fours was nearly as tall as I. He stared at me, dropped his head, pulling his shoulders back. He showed his teeth and did a low growl. I freaked. There was no fight or flight at that moment. Only I'm going to meet the spirit in the sky. I'm no meek two-spirit. I'm a hunter. I worked at the family-owned slaughterhouse. My biological dad, stepdad, and mom were all law enforcement officers. My oddball uncle was a Hell's Angel. I love you, Uncle B. Keep revving your Harley in heaven. Call forth the thunder. I was taught to stand my ground when it comes to my life. To understand me, I had no problems taking down physical bully. It was the mental abuse that caused me to crumble. Anyway, all of the stand your ground was gone. The only retaliations I felt I had was to make him work for his food. I took off like a bat out of hell. I took the path with the most obstacles for a large animal. I duck and wove between homes, trees, and such. I knew I would be the most vulnerable between the end of the road. Excuse me. I knew I'd be the most vulnerable between the end of the road that opened into the junior high parking lot to the fence. I can't truly express the fear I had, and the time had no meaning. I could hear it sniffing, running, growling. I could smell strong urine. I got more scared when it got quiet. I made a break for the parking lot. I heard it hit the ground like he jumped from a tree or a roof. I refused to let myself ponder on that info. I just wanted to get home and be safe. I made it to the fence. I haven't climbed that thing so fast in my life. I ran past the back porch to the front of the house. I flew into the home. I ran around locking all the doors and windows. Then I ran upstairs and hid in the bathtub. I pulled my cigarettes out from my pocket. I must have smoked 5 of them in a row. I went into my room. I looked out the bedroom window that faces the parking lot. The school had lights on in the building, all lit up. The parking lot. I saw him by the door side corner, staring up at my window. I shit you not, that mother stood up. Holy effing crap. It was standing. All I could think was werewolf. I screamed, it's a frickin' werewolf. They aren't real, what the hell? I had a hard time believing what I was seeing. I spent the whole night up smoking weed. I begged my stepdad to take me around on Sunday. He agreed on the condition that I bake him oatmeal cookies. On Sunday, I suggested to Dad to pack heat. I gave him reasons of coyote. That was the worst of the encounters. I was too scared to talk to anyone about this. I felt crazy. I gave up on that paper route around the 1st of December. A few weeks later, there was a snowstorm. It was my first job to clean snow off the roofs. I was the only one who wasn't afraid of heights. I opened my bedroom window to clean off the snow. I screamed. There's a bipedal wolf-like footprints in the snow outside of my window. I looked over to the garage, and sure enough, there were prints over there on the roof, too. The most I've seen over the years is eye shine. I'm 52 years old now, and could care less if I'm believed. I know what I went through. This may be a coincidence. My older sister, same dad, different mom, and I have the wolf as a spirit guide. Our grandmother was a medicine healer. Grandma always told Mom about the warrior soul I carry in my body. In the past few years, I've learned what I saw was not a werewolf, but a dogman. This animal could have easily taken me down. When he stood up at the corner of the school, his stance showed raw power. He resembled the werewolves in that movie Dog Soldiers, but his legs had hawks like that of a wolf. I spent years feeling like he was toying with me during that chase. I pondered the idea of my family's lineage and my spirit guide being the reason why I wasn't turned into crispy chicken on that run. Thank you, Jeff. All right, guys, so that was today's upload. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Once again, I will be going up to where Tom Mezek disappeared today. Hopefully I can get some sort of something, you know. I'm really looking forward to getting a bigger copy of that map and an index because, you know, I really, besides looking into these animal attacks, the one thing that I really have a passion about researching is the Tom Mezek case. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support, after all, that keeps this channel growing and going. And honestly, what gives people a chance and a place to share their experiences and theories judgment-free, simply treated with the respect that we all deserve. See, I make that comment at the end of every video. Why would that lady say Oh, God. Anyway, I don't hate you. I want to hear your other encounters. Guys, with that being said, everyone please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, the most precious gift we are given. Our pets, the greatest alarm system we could ever have. Family, friends, the people that mean the most to us. Share this information with those that you care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for answers, and God bless.